أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. My dear and respected listeners, my dear and respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I welcome you all to our weekly Hadith circle. Alhamdulillah, last time we managed to introduce the next chapter, which is chapter 4 of Riyadus Salihin that we are going to be reading from. It is Babu Siddiq, which means the chapter or book on truthfulness. Imam al-Nawawi rahmatullah alayh, who compiled and put this magnificent, useful book together for us and our benefit, he began by selecting a few verses of the Holy Quran that talk on this magnificent subject, on this topic of speaking straight, saying the truth, which we obviously call a sidq or truthfulness. The first hadith, we read it only in the translation last session, is 54th of the book. So I would like to read this hadith first in Arabic. This is our practice. And then we will read the translation of it. And then we will look, this hadith doesn't really have any particular difficult terms, but we will look at the language of this tradition before we go into deducing some benefits. So if you don't mind, listen carefully. عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الصدق يهدي إلى البر وإن البر يهدي إلى الجنة وإن الرجل ليصدق حتى يكتب عند الله صديقا وإن الكذب يهدي إلى الفجور وإن الفجور يهدي إلى النار وإن الرجل ليكذب حتى يكتب عند الله كذابا متفق عليه. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu reported, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the truthfulness or the truth leads to piety or righteousness, and piety or righteousness leads to Jannah, paradise. A man persists in speaking the truth until he is enrolled with Allah as a truthful person. On the other hand, the falsehood leads to vice, evil, and vice leads to the hellfire. And a person persists on telling lies until he or she is enrolled as a liar. Muttafaqun alayh means agreed upon, means that Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim, both of them, they recorded this particular tradition in their respective works, which obviously means to us that this hadith, this report, is of the highest degree or level of authenticity. We have no reason really to doubt the authenticity of this particular tradition. Now, I don't think this hadith, as you can hear, is not a very long, it's not the shortest of Prophet's sayings, but it's a very easy one to understand. However, there is some heaviness, you can say. The content is quite deep. It's quite heavy. It's very nice and easy, like two sides of the coins, you can say. There's a lot of reasoning and logic involved in this tradition, like one thing leads to the next. However, one has to really carefully look at this particular tradition in a deeper way to properly understand it. And not only that, but just to apprehend it and then hopefully, act upon it, implement it, or implement its teaching or instruction in one's lifetime, which is obviously the hard part. So in terms of the language, as I told you, I looked at it before. I didn't really identify anything very difficult because those notions or let's say terms which are used in this hadith, they are all very known to us. I mean, like even young people will basically know very much about truthfulness, speaking the truth, and how significant it is, how important it is. On the other hand, they will all know how bad or evil it is basically to tell lies, to lie. So these two are very known, like very, 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 very famous terms. Likewise, al-bir, which is righteousness or piety, and al-fujur as well. Okay, so falsehood is like lying, and then righteousness or piety is the, let's say, the end result of being truthful. Like being truthful will make you also pious, will make you righteous. On the other hand, people who lie, who are not careful, let's say, with what they say, with what they speak, and engage in falsehood, that is definitely, inevitably, yeah, going to lead them to evil deeds, okay, to vice, al-fujur, okay. So maybe the only term, that I could point out is al-fujur, that could be explained further, because al-bir is mentioned in the Quran, and it's with kasra under the letter ba. Okay, al-bar is also mentioned, but it's a very different meaning. Means land. So al-bir definitely is with kasra, yeah, bi kasri al-ba. We know definitely, and it means righteousness. Okay, I know here in English translation it says piety. That's why I said piety or righteousness. You might translate it in this occasion as piety, but what you mean by piety here is you mean goodness and righteousness as a whole, okay? Because piety to some people will have different degrees, and it's a notion which is very general in our Islamic tradition, and it might be actually even more than al-bir, okay? It might be even more comprehensive. So maybe the better translation is righteousness. So al-bir could also mean, it's like almost synonymous to al-khair, good, okay? So because when we say a rajul is bar, okay, or bar, yeah, in fact, one of the names of Allah, like, or attributes, innahu huwa al-barrur rahim. You can read in the Quran, yeah, in Surah At-Tur. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes reference to himself using this very term, okay, which means Allah is the righteous, the merciful, okay, and it means good, okay. The essence is Allah is willing you good, wanting you good, giving you good. Likewise, He wants to be kind to you and gives you kindness, mercy. He's merciful to you. So in the same way, when we say that a person, rajulun barrun or barun, what we mean is that he is very good person, like very good person, very pious. I mean, let's say righteous, but that also means, of course, that he's pious and truthful. Okay, so in a way, this term al-bir seems to be so comprehensive. It seems to include that the person who is described as bar or bar, he has basically engulfed all good traits within himself, all goodness. So it's basically not just sidq, that he's only truthful, but being truthful will lead him to that state. In fact, it's not a hal, it's a maqam. Like the person like Prophet Yahya was described like that in the Quran. And I'm sure other prophets as well were like that. So the Quran doesn't mention this particular term very often, but it does mention it in Surah Al-Baqarah in a very amazing way, half a page long, what we describe and call nowadays like Ayatul Bir. If you read that verse, it will really tell you what the righteousness consists of. And you'll be very surprised that it consists of almost all key articles of faith, and then all good, let's say, good, amazing deeds that we know of, like good rites and rituals in Islam. Salah is included there, giving zakat in charity, but it's even more than that. Being compassionate, kind, all the good, let's say, skills of interacting with other humans or interacting with other living beings are in a way included in this definition of righteousness. And of course, even the ayah mentions sidq is also a very important aspect of it. Yeah, the truthfulness itself. So it seems that al-bir is ismun jami'. This is what the Arabists say, likulli khair. It's like a name which is very comprehensive, that engulfs or includes all types of goodness, all good. So you can say like that, okay? Inna al-birra yahdi ila al-jannah. So bir is the term which needed a little bit of explanation, but as I told you, this notion of righteousness and goodness is quite known to us. Maybe apart from that, we can say, okay, يهدي إلى الجنة is easy, means it will lead you. يرشدك ويوصلك إلى الجنة. It's going to help you, guide you along the way, and it will basically facilitate your transference to the gardens of paradise. Like, it's going to help you, guide you, show you the way, but it will also enable you. It's like the means itself. It's an indication, direction, and the means at once to the entry of paradise, like to Jannah. That's what it means here. Like, it's not just pure guidance, it's actually both of these things. Like, it's guiding you, indicating to you, and then also the means to getting to Jannah. Okay, so it's very important basically. And then this term Siddiq, of course, comes from, if you look at the morphology, it obviously comes from Siddiq, but there is so much emphasis here. And this is the one part which we need to underline, point out. So basically, someone is not called Siddiq, okay? Siddiq, like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, okay? And other great people who have this attribute or have this name maybe in their name, okay? In fact, Farouk and Siddiq are very common names in the subcontinent, for example. So these guys probably should work very hard on this. So what it is, it's Sighatul Mubalagha from Sadiq. Yeah, Sadiq is somebody who is trustworthy person, okay? Yeah, he is a truthful person. But when someone is declared as Siddiq, okay, it really means that no other but the truth comes from this person. So, you know, every time the person talks now, when he becomes a Siddiq, he is always basically uttering the haqq, the sidq, the truth. Okay, he is speaking always the truth, and not only that, it's become part of his fabric, of his DNA, and even in his manners, you know, you can basically see truthfulness. That's why, you know, some obviously scholars will say, well, Siddiq, to gain the maqam, the level of Siddiq is a special station, like one of the very, 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 very best. In fact, they even more or less say next to the prophets it is. But interestingly, the Quran describes almost every prophet in the Quran with this trait, with this quality. And it seems that they all had to have it. It was essential quality or attribute of all prophets. Because it does seem that, of course, Allah knows best why He chose the ones that He chose to be His prophets and messengers on this earth. But in a way, they had to have certain good, praiseworthy traits, we say, that all of them, more or less, they all have, and they had to. They were like conditional. The one which was really good and outstanding is, in my opinion, I might be wrong, but it does seem that it is sidq, you know, them being truthful, because when they came, you know, like angels came to them, they didn't know that Allah would select them and choose them. And then they were instructed to tell their people who they interacted with beforehand, had like a life before prophecy, before being prophets of God. So they were known either for their truthfulness or not. Okay, so they were known in their communities, but the outstanding quality that they were known by, yeah, was sidq. Like our prophet was basically nicknamed as Sadiq al-Amin, sidq and amana, like trustworthiness and truthfulness. So all the prophets, it seems that they were so well known in their communities or among their people as the most truthful people of all. Like, they would never lie or indulge themselves in any lies or be part of anything dubious. It was always very clear that whatever they said, it was the truth. And if you wanted to double check some information you're not sure about, you ask them and they'll tell you the truth, because they were not known to be lying at all. So when they came with the new message, basically, when they became prophets of Allah, they told people something they never told them before. So people will basically belie them or believe them. Yeah, trust them. Yeah, they will say, yeah, this guy has never, this person has never spoken lie. They never lied. Therefore, what they say now must be true as well, because they're so truthful. So that quality was amazing. And basically, it's from Sighatul Mubalagha, and you won't be declared as Siddiq unless you are well known to always say the truth, yeah, and that you become truthful person, means like no lie is associated with this name or with his character, with this personality. When that happens, you become a Siddiq. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all Siddiq, because we also don't want to lie, make it a practice, na'udhu or even lie occasionally, because it's very, very important to nurture this particular trait within our personality, so that we become, like the hadith says, written, so to say, or enrolled or classified as the truthful ones in the eyes of God. That's the most important thing we want to attain. Even if people think otherwise and say so and so is still dubious and this and that, as long as we know and feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing us as being truthful, really truthful to Him and His word and the Sharia and rules, that's all we care about. Okay? Because we know that's going to lead us to Jannah. Now, the other part, the other side of the coin of this hadith is about kadhib, which is, again, like I said, you can say the opposite of sidq, but not really, because in the last session when I introduced the chapter, we told you that sidq doesn't only mean truth, speaking the truth. It's more than that. Speaking the truth and acting according to the truth, which means like being a good Muslim, acting according to the rules and norms of Sharia, Islamic law. That's what a Sadiq does. And when he does that perpetually, consistently, all the time, and there's no breach, he becomes a Siddiq, right? Now, Kadhib is lie, and that's quite straightforward to understand. When a person says one lie, it's a Kadhib, lie. And the person can straight away be attributed, means described as a liar, because we know so and so that he or she had lied. If they had lied in the past, we say, well, he's a liar. I'm not sure if I can trust the information they give me. But you can verify with other channels that don't have any doubts, and you can take it still from them. But you certainly wouldn't trust someone who is known as a liar, known to be lying very regularly, often, in fact. Now you can't guarantee and distinguish between what they say, the facts, the things that are maybe not made up or lies, and the things that are lies. So basically, that is called not kadhib, but kadhab, right? As the hadith mentions here. And the Quran, of course, mentions it. So basically, the danger really is people don't even realize that. Indulging yourself in this particular sin, which is the sin of lying, not saying the truth, yeah, saying the lies, being the lies. You can even be the lie, right? It doesn't have to be spoken word, but let's say the translation and the understanding of this term that we know of is involving speaking. Yeah, it's something to do with talking. But it's more than that, as I said. You could belie something else as well. So basically, the person who does that on a regular basis, like he lies once, then second time, then third time, more and more, and then he loses the sensation, okay, the feeling that he's actually even lying anymore. So he loses the sense that he's actually doing something wrong. And that becomes a habit of his, habit or whatever. And then that person is declared as kadhab, and therefore he has to be wiped out. We can't trust that person anymore as a reliable source when it comes to our religion or religious practices. That's why in the reports like this hadith, all the people that were, let's say, accused of lying even once, no scholar would trust them anymore and take any saying or any report, yeah, or account from them as reliable. They will take it with a pinch of salt, like they say, so and so is known to have lied once. Well, what's the guarantee he didn't make up this or lied again? Therefore, I can't really take that as a very accurate information from him. So in hadith is, of course, very extremely tough conditions and regulations. But to be honest with you, if you practice law, like if somebody is a judge, they will also be very careful when somebody comes to a court to testify. They're not going to take a testimony of anyone, not definitely from someone who is known to be lying, or known to have given a false testimony in the past. They will not qualify to testify in a court. So it has consequences. But what we want to focus on is this fujur term. فجر الرجل يفجر فجورا. Okay? So what does it mean? It means al-fujur al-a'mal as-sayyi'ah. So it's like the opposite of bir in a way. Okay? So what it means is that it leads to vice. By vice means all types of evil. Vice means bad sayings and bad deeds, which means bad, vice, okay, evil. Okay, al-fujur means evil deeds, okay, and evil sayings. And apart from that, I can't really see anything else difficult. Kadhab also is like sighatul mubalagha, means emphasized term or terminology. So let us try to deduce the benefits before Isha prayer. So this hadith very clearly, very clearly, obviously, encourages every one of us. There's a strong targheeb, yeah, encouragement in this hadith to be truthful, yeah, to speak the truth, but also to be truthful to our covenant, our contract with Allah. Yeah, that's why I said like to be a truthful means earnest and honest Muslim, loyal to Allah. Yeah, to sincerely submit to Allah's will, yeah, or ultimate, or let's say absolute divine decree or will. So this hadith encourages us. Why? Because we understand from this hadith that by being truthful, yeah, it is the cause or the means of every khair, every good. It's going to lead us to every possible good. The hadith says, "Inna sidqa yahdi ila al-bir." And we said bir is this very comprehensive term which means righteousness and piety and truthfulness and all the good deeds and actions and sayings. So by becoming and being truthful, inshallah ta'ala, it's going to lead us to develop all good traits and is going to make us and turn us into good beings or people who are doing righteous deeds, only righteousness, or people who are pious. Likewise, of course, this hadith has a strong, stern warning against lie, okay, against telling lies, against becoming a person who is known as a liar or being a liar. So why? Because the hadith tells you, on the other hand, like contrary to truthfulness, lying leads to every sort of evil. Yeah, it's like sabab kulli shar, the scholar says, the cause of every evil. And then the person who becomes known for lying will be called a liar, okay? And that will harm them in every possible way in this life and of course even in the next one. That is like first benefit or two benefits that we learn from this hadith. There's one more I would like to share before we end the session. So we will basically be rewarded or punished depending on our intention and our deeds, or let's say sayings, what we say and how we say. So if we do a good deed, like speak the truth, then we can hope to be rewarded for it. On the other hand, if we choose to lie or say a lie, yeah, or become liars, then we will be punished for that because we chose to do an evil deed. So in a way, it seems like it's inevitable, okay? It's very clear. It's down to us. It's up to us. We're going to choose the course of action, which is righteousness, good, right? The truth, becoming truthful, and stick to it. Work on it. Be in that camp, Ashabul Yameen, yeah, on the righteous people, yeah, right hand. Or people can choose to do evil deeds, to lie, and stay on that path and be Ashabu Shima, the lefties, okay? But the problem really is that people who stay on the right, okay, inshallah, they can hope and will be rewarded. But the problem with the lefties is that they inevitably, out of Allah's justice, ultimate justice, they will be punished. So it does seem that الثواب والعقاب يترتب على ما يقوم به الإنسان من عمل خير أو شر. So we will be rewarded according to our intentions and our deeds. If we do good, it's a reward. Okay, and we call that thawab. If we do bad, then it's a punishment. The jaza means adab or iqab. And I just end here. Just remember that عقابullah, inna Allah shadidul iqab. Allah's punishment is severe, very painful. His torment is unbearable. There are scholars who say, like, you don't want to be even for a tiny bit of a second in the hellfire. You don't want to be punished at all, because Allah's punishment is much, much more severe than what you ever imagine or think. So we certainly want to be encouraged by this hadith and stick to the truth and become truthful people. Likewise, stay away from lie, even a single lie, because you never know. That one can be 2, 3, second, third, until na'uzubillah, a person becomes a liar. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, protect our tongues, so that we speak the truth and we gain the benefit from this ability to speak, and we say the things which are useful, like dhikrullahi wa ma wala. We remember Allah and things which are like of that sort and kind, using our power of speech and tongue, and we stay away from lying and anything of that sort which will lead to vice and evil, and then inevitably to the hellfire. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the hellfire and grant us the admission to the beautiful gardens of paradise, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us our mistakes and shortcomings. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. سبحانك اللهم نستغفرك ونتوب إليك ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. بارك الله فيكم والعفو منكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We'll carry on tomorrow evening, inshallah. إلى اللقاء. السلام عليكم.